Shimmer reverb has become a really popular effect recently, and you can hear it particularly over all forms of ambient and lo-fi music. It is a really useful effect to add pitched reverb to things like vocals and pads. As this is Creative Logic Pro, I'm going to show you a way that you can create your own Shimmer reverbs using stock Logic plugins. The first thing we need to consider is what is Shimmer reverb. And the easiest way put is a deep, dense reverb which has some form of pitched element which you can control. To start off, I'm going to use a very much overlooked and underused plugin in Logic called Silververb. I'm going to set Silververb up on a bus because I want to be able to control the amount that I send to the reverb. Putting reverbs on a send is a fundamental part of audio engineering and mixing practice. There are a variety of reasons why you would want to do this. One of the prime reason being, particularly if you're working in a DAW, is that you are saving on CPU resource. Reverb is a particularly CPU hungry process, and if you have a reverb per channel, you are using up tons and tons of your CPU for the same effect that you might be using across a number of channels. Therefore, it is much easier to send multiple channels to the same reverb. This also enables you to create the same sense of space for those elements that you are sending to that reverb. Think of it like you have all of your instruments in the same room. What I'm going to do is set Silververb up on this bus. I'm going to label the bus Shimmer so I know what it is. And this is the sound that I'm going to be working with. To begin with, I just have a simple sound from Retro Synth, and this is the sound. It's a pad sound with a very short decay, and I've chosen that and I've worked this in on purpose because the Shimmerverb is going to give us the tail and the depth and the sustain of the pad. Okay, so I'm now going to send something to Silververb. Let's see what that sounds like. Not too inspiring and definitely not too Shimmer-like at this point in time. Opening up Silververb, we said that this is quite an interesting reverb plugin, and one of the interesting things about it for Logic, it has a modulation source. Modulation is a great thing to add to reverb because it creates a sense of movement in the reverb tails. It creates a sense of depth and something that is constantly evolving. So what I'm going to do here to begin with, I'm going to set this up to 100%. This is what we have now. Still not pad sounding or shimmer sounding, so I'm going to bring down this a little bit because I want it to be an immersive reverb. I'm going to get a little bit of the highs in there as well. I'm also going to increase the size to a maximum and the reflexivity, so this is going to be quite big now. So you can hear the attack of the original sound and the tail of the ambient reverb now. Let's see what happens when I move the modulation. It's going to get quite... We definitely don't want that effect at the moment. We're not going for Vangelis right now, but we might go for that a little bit later. The other interesting thing about this plugin thing is you have a phase control, so you can actually adjust the stereo spread, the stereo width of your reverb. So let's... Starting to sound quite wide. But this is Shimmer and I want more. I want more reverb, but I want even more. So the simplest way of doing that, if I want more reverb, well, I just create another reverb. Let's create another copy of this. The easiest way to do it, hit the Alt key and drag it down, and there we have two of these now. So this should be pretty epic. So as you can hear, that's pretty much going to go on forever. What we could also do here is change the modulation, so we're getting more modulation in the second reverb. And remember here, this is not the original sound, this is the reverb sound being processed by more reverb. Yeah, maybe let's make these a little bit lower because we've already filtered out some of those below, but we're now reverberating a reverb sound. Let's have a quick listen to that. The next thing we need to do is to add a pitched element. Now there are a number of places where we could add the pitch shifter, but I'm going to add it right here in the middle. The process here, what's happening is that I am sending my original signal to a bus. The bus is where my reverb is. My reverb is then going to be pitch shifted and then feed into another reverb. So the first amount of reverb will be unprocessed, and then the reverb sound that comes out of that first reverb unit or first reverb plugin is going to be pitch shifted. So let's add on my pitch shifter here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it an octave just like Valhalla Shimmer, and I'm going to turn the mix up to around 50%. Let's see what we have now. We have a lush, deep Shimmerverb that we have so many parameters that we control. I could change the mix up even further here. Let's take it up to 75%. Again, remember now we're going to get much more of the pitch shifted sound. Probably a little bit too much, so I'm going to bring this down. Okay, let's bring that down to 50%. I think that was a nice halfway house. At the same time, we're still getting that initial attack. So let me, of the synth, let me turn this off. We're getting that pulse. I could go in and adjust the attack envelope of the synth. So let's try one and see what happens there. And I'm just going to make it a little bit, the cutoff a little bit higher. That's all fine and great, but what if I don't want the synth sound at all? I just want the sound of the shimmer. This is where I can send my signal to the reverb pre-fader. So this means in terms of the signal flow, the signal to the send is going here and the fader has no effect on it. So I'm going to turn the fader right down. And we now have this sound. Now to me that's starting to sound a lot like the shimmer sound that I want, but what I'm also want to do here is I want to add in an EQ because I want to stop the overall sound of the reverb becoming a little bit muddy. And one way of doing this is I'm going to put a low shelf around 150 Hertz to filter out some of that low on. Actually, it might go up to about 200 Hertz here. And I'm going to filter out some of the high end as well. Let's put that there. Of course, I can use the EQ to shape the sound even further. So I could automate this to create a sweeping effect across my shimmer sound as well, which is a really nice unit. To take the shimmer concept one step further, I'm going to jump over to this pluck sound, and all I'm going to do with this plucky sound, let's listen to this. I'm going to send that to my new shimmer bus, and let's see what a simple plucked sound sounds like. First of all, I'm sending it post fader, so you'll hear the pluck. A massive, massive tail there. Now I'm just going to send this pre-fader and turn the original signal all the way down. So this is what my plucked sound sounds like. Again, creating a really nice pad sound from anything really. And to prove that you can use any oscillator, any signal, I'm just going to do the same thing here with a basic sine wave. To create the basic sine wave, all I've done is load in a quick sampler, which by default has a sine wave as its initial patch. Again, go to my bus, select Shimmer. Turn this over to pre-fader again. Get the sine wave out of the way. I might take some of that out, cut out a little bit there. The beauty of this method as well is I could perhaps take out one of the reverbs if I think I've got far too much reverb. Additionally, I can create otherworldly style reverbs by duplicating this process. So I'm just going to add here another bus, and I'm going to call this Shimmer Low. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to, again, maybe send this pre-fader for the time being. I'll send a similar amount. I'm just going to switch over to my mixer view. I'm going to duplicate these plugins here. And I'll keep it similar. But all I'm going to do here is, instead of this being an octave higher, I'm going to make this an octave lower. We've now got a high octave and a low octave. And to counter that, I'm going to maybe chop out some of this here and allow the lower octave to have a little bit more energy. And we can do all kinds of filtering here. If we change the filtering, we've got a completely different sound, remember. Let me send this with the original sound that we had to the Shimmer Low. So add a bit of a lower octave element to it. We could use this method to create harmonic parts as well, such as a chord. So I'm going to bring the first one down to 4 semitones and have this at 7 semitones. So let's play this together now and see what happens. So with one note, I have a harmonic sound through my Shimmer Reverb. Taking this one step further, we could also maybe pan these left and right, so we are getting that effect across the stereo spectrum for the different harmonic parts of our Shimmer. So there you have it, using stock plugins to create a Shimmer Reverb.